good morning. Good morning. This is really wonderful. See everybody this is like our first little bit of snow for the winter. Not too bad, not too shabby, but you know, now the sun is out, but I really thought, oh, you know, it might be hard for everybody to get out, but you all came out. So very, very grateful to see you all this morning. And very, very glad to be able to have Karen Tyler, who is our Director of Veteran Services for our region. You know, Karen serves multiple towns in the region, but she's here with us and always available to us through her Ipswich office. And it's really lovely to be able to have you come back up and talk about, you know, services and benefits and resources for people in our communities. As I start to clean up too, I always have Karen's contact information, so later too, or if anybody that is at home that needs to reach Karen, we've got multiple ways to reach her. But just very glad to see you all and have everybody here this morning. Next month, and I think it's February, I'm trying to think of when the first Thursday is, if it's the second or the third. If it's second, it's Groundhog's Day, which would be kind of funny. Chief Cudmore will be here to be our guest speaker then. If, God willing, and the snow don't fall. If we were to have a snow day, we'd have to reschedule. But other than that, I mean, if it's like this, if this winter continues this way, we're okay.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to that. But I'm going to turn it right to Karen and, you know, clean up a little bit. And thank you again for coming, taking the time. I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
All right.
First, I would like to apologize if anybody here was last month. I wasn't here. They had a women's conference at the State House, which, you know, they need as many female veterans as possible in attendance because we're such a small part of, you know, population in the military, but we're growing. Out of all the different groups of people entering the service, the number of people, you know, we're a volunteer service, so the number of people joining is going down. And but the population, out of that, the women's veterans are starting to come up a little bit more, which I think is excellent. And we're also being able to get into different MOSs and everything, just different jobs that, you know, have previously excluded females are now opening up so that they can go into those different areas. But, so I apologize for that, but I'm happy to be here today. So I just wanted to take a minute so you guys could see my face, know that, you know, I'm your Veteran Service Officer. Like Colleen said, she has my contact information, but I also brought some materials here along with my business card, so that way you can take it with you and you know how to get in touch with me. So some of the benefits, you know, I want to kind of put a tickle in your ears so that way if you know, hear of anything or you hear of something that might apply to you, that you would come see me so that way, you know, we can go over eligibility and see if it's something that you would qualify for. Another thing is if you're a veteran, to contact my office and I can, you know, house your DD 214. I always suggest that because it's great to keep it in 2 different places in case anything was to happen. I would have it at my office. And also, you know, benefits do change. So something in people's situations change. So something that might not have applied to you previously might be something that you need now, or something that you didn't qualify for, you know, now could be something that you could access. So in Massachusetts, we're the only state where there's a veteran service officer in every city and town. If the towns are smaller, you can create a district, but no other state has that. We're leading the way in veterans services, veterans benefits, things like that. I mean, there's benefits that you can get here that you can't get anywhere else. And so that's pretty unique. I'm really happy, and I think that's something that is really beneficial to all veterans. So that way, you're not trying to, you know, deal with the VA or, you know, be out there just trying to figure out things on your own. because it's very difficult to navigate, you know, especially the VA or, you know, even state benefits. To have somebody like myself here to help figure out these things it's crucial. And I think that a lot of times if it's something that you're feeling overwhelmed about, you might not try to get, you know, you might not move forward with trying to apply for a benefit. But coming here to me, I can walk you through it, and that way, you know, you have your best chance of obtaining the benefit that you're applying for. So I said Massachusetts leads the way. Well, one of the benefits that we have here, it's called Chapter 115, which is a local benefit. So it's a benefit for low-income veterans or surviving spouses. So I know that you guys are all men here today, but if you know of any surviving spouse, they are also eligible for some benefits. So you can definitely, you know, throw that out there if you do know somebody. So this Chapter 115 benefit that I started talking about, it's for low-income people who, and it's a three-part benefit. So you may qualify for one or qualify for all three, but it's a financial benefit. So depending on your income, you could get, so it's financial, medical, and fuel. So, you know, if you are low income, you could get, it's like a supplement and stuff, so that way, you know, you would receive kind of like when you're in the military, kind of like a stipend, and it changes with your income. If maybe you might qualify for medical only, and with that, it's saying that it will reimburse you for any medical expenses, including, you know, Medicare, any secondary health insurance, all your co-pays. You know, you could get pre-approved for, you know, dental procedures. And then there's also the fuel, and that's if you own your own house and you pay for your own fuel. So like I said, depending on your situation, you could qualify for all three, but if you qualify for Chapter 115 benefit, that gets you into that lane, and it's something that could really benefit you if you're, you know, in that situation. And so then there's also some VA benefits. And so I'm just gonna, you know, touch on like kind of the big ones. The VA, a lot of their benefits kind of fall into certain categories. One, if you're low income or if you're a combat vet, there's, you know, obviously more benefits that, you know, that you would fall into. Some of them is, you know, like a non-service pension. If you're low income, that's something, you know, it's kind of extremely low, but if you're in a situation where, you know, you're having, you know, a lot of difficulty, you know, making your payments and, you know, just getting everything, you know, kind of living at that level, at, you know, close to poverty level, that's something that you might qualify for. Also, one of the main things is, I see a lot, is service-connected disability claims. Okay, so if you go and try to do your own service-connected disability claim, the first form that you have to look at is 11 pages long, okay? So this is the government, this is the VA, and they love their forms. And so, you know, you might look at it on your own and be like, I can't do this, I'm not gonna, you know, deal with trying to figure all of this out. Well, if you want to submit a claim, or if you have a question on, you know, whether or not you should submit a claim, contact me and I can have that conversation with you. And if it's something that we move forward with, I would help you through the whole process, soup to nuts. And so a lot of the service-connected disability claims that I do, number one is hearing. So with the VA, all you need to do is make a connection. So say you were a combat engineer in the service. Well, when you're young and you get out and you're 22 years old, you know, you don't have hearing loss. But as you get older, you know, and you do develop hearing loss. Well, if we can put the connection between the two, because, you know, what happened while you were in the service can contribute to having that hearing loss later in life. And so that's something that, that I could help you out with. And then if you receive a service-connected rating, that opens up other benefits for you in regards to, being able to use the VA healthcare system. You get, a break on your taxes, $400 and stuff. And so that's if you have 10% or more. So it's always worth trying and submitting a claim, because worst thing that can happen is you get denied. Well, you didn't have it before, so you're not losing anything. You only have the opportunity is to gain. Another big benefit that I help people with, which is also open to surviving spouses, is a benefit that's called aid and attendance. And so in order to qualify for this benefit, the first thing you need to have is severe health issues. So there's a form that you would have filled out by your doctor. And so if you're living and you need help with your daily living activities, and in regards to medication management, showering, food preparation, walking, things like that. So if you are in that situation, your doctor fills out the form, and then we would look at your income, because it is also income based. But what we do is we deduct your medical expenses from that, and so your monthly income, we could get down to, maybe even $0, and that way you can maximize the financial benefit of this aid and attendance. So that's another one that I work with a lot. It's open to surviving spouses, and it's really, and if you're in a situation like that, you have like home, CNAs and stuff coming into your house, and so that can quickly, financially burden you. We can also, if you're in a nursing home, we can use that, and we have another form that we can, get you qualified for that benefit, and you'll receive additional funds to help, with the nursing home or assisted living, because that it's outrageously expensive, so any little bit helps. So I always like to, and then like in regards to the VA, there's also home loans. Everybody qualifies for a home loan if you served honorably. Education benefits, so it goes on and on. One thing I like to say is I kind of consider myself a liaison. So Chapter 115, that's the meat of it, that you have to go through me, and it's a local benefit. But in regards to any state or federal or even nonprofit or anything like that, I consider myself a liaison. So if you have any questions, come see me, and what I could do is connect you with a subject matter expert. So that way you can have somebody who, that's what they do all day long. They know the ins and outs, all the nuances. And so by connecting you with that person, I have a contact, and so you know that the customer service or the person that you're talking to is the appropriate person for that benefit. So I think that, I could go on and on, but another thing that is useful that a lot of people take advantage of is the vet center. So we have a vet center, and it's in Lowell, but I know that people from this area do go there. And in order to use the vet center, you need to be a wartime veteran, or a Gold Star, or if you've experienced MST, military sexual trauma. And they have different groups and schedules. They have a specific one for Vietnam veterans. They have one for, Gold Star families. They do yoga. So there's a lot of different things that they do at the vet center that, if you're interested, take a part of. I think that a lot of times the group and it's not always like group therapy sessions. It's, you know, spending time who have had the same situation, you know, that you have, or the same experience or a similar experience that, you know, could benefit you, just to have other people, you know, in the same room that you can talk about stuff like that with, because they know where you're coming from. So, I mean, there's so much out there, and that's why Massachusetts is great in that they have somebody like myself to help you with these things. I mean, even to be a veteran service officer, like, you need to pass the certification test. I go to 3 trainings a year that are a week long. I go to meetings, you know, like regional meetings with other veteran service officers, so that way we can collaborate and, you know, kind of see what else is going on in all the other different communities and things like that. So, so there's a lot of things that I know, and if it's something that I don't know, I have a lot of people, a lot of colleagues, or, you know, resources where I can find that information. Another thing, you know, is medals. You know, I was able to obtain some medals for people who have qualified recently. Massachusetts, it's a Massachusetts medal, and it's called the Medal of Liberty, and it's for a family member, the next of kin of somebody who died in their child or spouse died in combat, so it's for a gold star. And it's something that, you know, Massachusetts uses to recognize the service and loss for you of your deceased family member. And so that's something that, you know, as soon as I hear of a situation of or a person that has experienced that, you know, I can obtain the medal for you. And I just recently did that for a person whose son was killed in Vietnam. And so, you know, it meant a lot to him to have that recognition of what, you know, of what he endured. So, so that's something I can look into too. So I don't know if any of you guys have any questions, but I love to answer questions, so ask away. Yes?
I have one question.
Sure.
It comes to a point in your life that you like to put your house in order and so forth.
Yeah.
And, which I did. I went and got everything set up and so forth, put my property in a trust. Now, I do get a disability.
Okay.
And what happened, once I put that in the trust, I still live in the house, I still pay the taxes, but the town assessors took my $400 exemption away.
Okay. All right.
It kind of bothers me a little bit, you know. It's not a lot of money, but it's the fact that, hey, you ought to be aware of this. If you put your property in a trust or something, that's it.
Yeah, okay, all right. No, thank you for sharing that with me. Because it is things like that, you know, that, you know, are kind of one-offs, or, you know, you're probably not the only one in that boat and everything. And so just like you sharing that information is another indicator that there are so many benefits, and there's so many nuances and things that, you know, that come with being a veteran, and the benefits that we receive, or, you know, or benefits that change for us. So thank you for sharing.
You mentioned low income.
Yep.
What constitutes low income?
Okay, so for the Chapter 115 benefit, and I also brought some here. So I'll show you, I'll give that to you. But, so for the Chapter 115 benefit, for a single person, it's $2,023 a month with less than $5,000 in the bank.
All right. Well,
So-
that answers that.
Yeah. And so, so that's, the Chapter 115 benefit is actually one of the most clean cut benefits, because it's very, you know, it's hard lined. and they're like, you know, if it's less than, you know, $2,023, and if it's less than $5 in the bank, $5,000 in the bank, then you're at least in the lane to receive benefits. Yes.
Karen, building on that, if you own a property,
Yep.
does that affect your qualification for 115?
No. So if you own the property, so say you live in an apartment. Okay, so what we look at is what you pay out in rent, okay? Or if you still have a mortgage, what your mortgage is. But say you pay off your house, all right? The way that we would calculate your mortgage is we would look at your water bill and also your taxes. So that we would calculate, so, you know, and we would consider that your mortgage or your shelter, the cost of your shelter.
They wouldn't take the value of your property?
No. So none of that, you know, cars, house, none of that is considered assets. The only thing they consider assets is money in the bank and anything that you have access to that you could, you know, that you can draw from. What else? Sure.
Could you address the importance for Vietnam veterans to register for the Agent Orange Registry?
Exactly. So if you're a Vietnam veteran, boots on the ground, sea or air, there is a registry. So this registry, you receive a health exam because, so this registry, what it does, it catalogs, it records and created data to say there's certain presumptive diseases such as prostate cancer, diabetes, things like that. And so there's a list of them. And what they found is people who went to Vietnam are at higher risk of obtaining these diseases compared to the regular population. And so with the VA knowing that now, with the government knowing that now, what they do is they're like, okay, you have this disease. Well, you know what? It very well likely could be related to the fact that you were in Vietnam and they did use that herbicide, Agent Orange. They're also looking at now is Gulf War, burn pits. So now they have a registry for that. And so it so a lot of things started. The Vietnam veteran era, I mean, it changed the world of benefits for veterans. And that's something that, you know, my generation or the generations that have come after that realize. We recognize the fact that what happened to the Vietnam veterans and what they're experiencing was a lot different than what we experienced. And if you look at the generation and the ages, that's because, you know, and how the benefits have increased, or you know, things such as PTSD or, you know, exposure to Agent Orange and different health benefits and health problems. It was the Vietnam veterans that led the way on that. Because I know that with Vietnam veterans, when you returned home, you were, you know, you weren't embraced like the World War II veterans. The World War II veterans came home and they were heroes, and the Vietnam veterans were not seen that way. When I entered the service, I'm an Army veteran. When I went in, I was in basic training when 9/11 happened, and so when I traveled home in between AIT, you know, after I had my training, to my first duty station in Germany, they told us, we want everyone, so this is, you know, the end of 2001, begin 2002. We want you guys to travel in uniform, you know, get that presence out there, make sure, you know, that people see, you know, see the military, see people in uniform. And I was in the, one story is, I was in, so here I am, I'm in Logan Airport, I'm in uniform. People like clapped, I had people shaking my hand, and you know, and I'm like sitting there and I'm like, I didn't even do anything, you know, I'm like, I just got out of training. I don't see why you're clapping and shaking my hand. And they're like, everybody was so proud to be an American. Everybody, you know, they're like, you raised your right hand, you know, you're serving this country and we support you. And so we know, you know, so I'm the, you know, global war on terrorism, that's what, you know, you guys were Vietnam, we're global war on terrorism, which is Iraq and Afghanistan. So it's very different, and, you know, and so we recognize that. And so with doing the registry or having that acknowledgement definitely makes a difference, and that's done now. Okay, I can keep talking. So when I was in the service, like I said, you know, I was Army, and I was a mental health specialist, and I did, you know, and again, after 9/11, everything changed, you know, everything that you thought you were gonna do just completely got flipped. And, you know, when you go into the military, you're supposed to be trained and prepared for anything that's gonna hit you. So I was enlisted, and I thought that, you know, I would be doing intake interviews and that there would be officers that would do, you know, the actual, you know, mental health counseling and things like that, because they had degrees. Well, when I got there, you know, half my people, you know, I had a small group and they deployed. So I was doing one-on-one counseling, which was very difficult because we were getting ready to invade Iraq for the first time. And Walter Reed was doing a research study on pre-deployment screenings. They were trying to find indicators of resiliency to see if they could figure out pre-deployment, if, you know, if there's an indicator or something that they might see, so that if, like, post-deployment, somebody would experience PTSD. And so that's what they were trying to figure out, you know, to see, and also, you know, what kind of factors might help reduce the experience of PTSD. And so, so that was interesting. I don't know, the control group that they used was people going to Kosovo, which is a lot different than people going to Iraq or Afghanistan. But they were trying to kind of see if they could find indicators or better, you know, service our service members and figure out, you know, what might, you know, be the experience post-deployment. A lot of people, you know, are having a hard time coming back, so I think having any sort of community or any sort of connection with other veterans is extremely, extremely important. So it's great to do any sort of group, or if, you know, I think a lot of you that have spoken with our veterans, so to be able to have that community, especially because when we're in the service, you know, you have that camaraderie, and you have, you know, you have people that you see every day, that you have their back, they have yours, and nothing's gonna stop you from, you know, from keeping that, you know, relationship. And so I think that's why, you know, some service members, when they get out, they're like, what the heck? You know, they don't have that same camaraderie or that same faith in their, in the people that they're with as they did when they were in the military. Yes?
When I was in, I went over to the crane operators MOS.
Yeah?
It was basically how long been, but we had worked with docks at Newport,
Okay.
and we unloaded thousands and thousands of barrels of the Agent Orange.
Mm-hmm.
Now, every once in a while, there'd be one leaking, they just wash it off into the river, right? But I never actually came into contact with the chemical itself, but because it was there, 20 feet away from me, so are we all eligible for any of that Agent Orange related?
Yep, so what I do with people, because as we know, your MOS can say one thing,
Yeah.
your title might say one thing, but your duties,
We got shot at.
are not the same. So whenever I submit a claim, what I do is, there's a form, and I work with, the person who's applying, and we write down what they actually did. So it's not just like, hey, this is my MLS, and they're gonna make a decision off of what your title was. So that way, to give you the best chance of receiving any benefit, I would include that with the claim.
I need to come see you anyway sometime in the new year.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just thinking, I didn't actually come into contact with the liquid itself, but it just,
It
it
doesn't,
was 20 feet away.
Yeah.
And just wash it off into the river. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. No.
Proximity.
yeah, exactly. And another one, oh, go ahead. Yep,
Yeah.
After World War II, the military took trucks they had, they couldn't bring back to the States. They cut them between the cab and the box, loaded them on big barges, took them out to Manila Bay and dumped them.
yeah, I know.
Scuttled the whole thing, I didn't even.
Yeah, I know. It's, as we know, there's a lot of things that might not,
Terminator, having an inspection of somebody's process. The truck
Yep,
had a big tank on it, and they didn't have any paperwork on it.
right.
So they made it up, but they didn't have it. When I took a dozer and went up in the yard, and dug a hole, drove the truck and covered it up.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Speaking of registries and, exposure to things, another one that, that we look at is there's benefits for people who had any sort of, consequence of, Marines who are based in Camp Lejeune for 30 days or more. There's a registry like the one that we have for Agent Orange, and it's been identified that there are certain diseases that, again, people who are stationed in Camp Lejeune for 30 days or more actually, have a higher instance of, having one of these diseases. And a lot of times these, you're looking at like cancer and, some serious stuff. So, when I meet with somebody, I ask, I'm like, do you have any health issues? Because you don't know what you don't know. So that's why I encourage people to just talk to me, and the conversation can just be fluid, and try to find out some information. All right, so the moral of the story, come see me. All right, well, thank you for having me. I'll meet with you guys. And I have some material